Trish and I will be your singing teacher. Today, I'm going to take you through some sheet music. More specifically, some ensemble and chorus sheet music. I'm going to break it down for you, make it really easy to follow and read, and show you some different examples of what chorus sheet music can look like. So let's jump right into it. This first example that I want to show you has two vocal lines. The two vocal lines you can see are here and here. You can see one is marked women and one is marked men. So obviously the women will sing this top line all the way down, staying on the top line all the way down, and the men will sing the second line and they're all the way down. And these bottom two are the piano line. So you don't need to worry about following these unless there's a section that has no singing. You might just want to follow along the counts, but most of the time you don't need to really worry about what is happening in the piano line. Just following your line along to the very end. So you can see that the women are split into two parts. So typically this will be a soprano and an alto. So the soprano is on top and the alto is on bottom. So if you are put in as an alto, then you will follow all of the bottom notes whenever you split. And then you can see that they come here, it comes just to a single melody. And so that means that you join with the sopranos for that line. Anytime you see this, you are singing in what's called unison. Here you have a little odd bit. So you have, this is a second, the interval is called a second, and you're still singing two separate notes, but you can see they're very close together. So it's going to have a nice clashy sound. And then again, you're doubled up, doubled up, doubled up, doubled up, and all doubled up. And the men start off in unison and then they split to tenor and bass here and carry on tenor and bass. This is quite typical. Both parts are written in what's called the treble clef. This is also the treble clef, so this is the right hand of the piano. The pianist will play with their right hand. Sometimes you'll see the men in the bass clef, but most of the time it'll be in the treble. So this is just one example of what some sheet music might look like for an ensemble or a choir. This is from the same song that I just showed the previous sheet from. So this is slightly different. So now we have three lines, 1, 2, 3, and you can see that the women are still sharing a line and the men have now split, and usually that is because the men are both or those parts will be singing something different. So you can see that they start off in unison, but then man 1 continues singing something while man 2 is holding the note and then sings the next bit. This just makes life easier, it just makes it cleaner, so you get a really good idea of what you're meant to be doing and there's no confusion over who's singing what notes. And the women here are both singing the same rhythm, so they will continue on the same line, but then as you can see here in this, they now have split into two as well. So you have 4 parts. You did always have 4-part harmony, but now they are clearly defined because they're all singing differently. They're all singing something different. So you have I have, I'll have, I'll have, I'll have. So again, just makes life easier. It's cleaner. Everyone knows what they're singing. So if I was woman 2, I would know here I am singing the bottom notes of this top line, and then when I jump down to the next stanza, so this is called a stanza, I would drop to the second line because it says woman 2, so I follow the woman 2 lines. Now this one is slightly different. So previous to this final page, the cast have been singing in groups. They haven't been singing in male groups, female groups. They've been singing in mixed groups. So group 1 has taken the top line, group 2 has taken this bottom line. You can see here. So they are a mixture of male and female voices, which you will often see in musicals and sometimes in choirs, but mostly this is going to happen in musicals because you'll have different groups of people singing with each other or at each other. So that's just another example of it. But then within the groups, you have soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. So you can see there, I know for a fact that this top line is the melody line. So this group is all singing the melody, and most likely it will be the people who are singing the melody are going to be the leads of that particular song. So you most likely will have the leads singing this top line. So we know that this is the melody, and then they split here into a 2-part, and then they go back to the melody. And then this line, this group 2, they are providing the harmony. Although at the end, you can see that one subgroup of group 2 splits to the melody. The rest stay on a harmony. So that's usually the way you'll have group 1 and group 2. They might be doing a counter melody, which means that they'll be singing 2 different melodies at the same time, or one group will be solidly on the melody and the other group will be providing the harmony or harmonies. I just want to have a look at a little bit more detail at this particular piece, just to give you an idea of how to decipher beyond where you sing. Okay, so I've already said this here. This indicates the clef that you're in. So we know that this symbol means it's treble clef. And just for comparison, this symbol here is the bass clef. Women in general will never sing in the bass clef unless you are asked to sing a male part, which is in the bass clef. So for the most part, women's parts are written in the treble clef. And quite often you'll find when you are singing in a choir or a chorus, you quite often see that the male voices will also be written in the treble clef, but the male voices will be singing everything the octave down. Here, as I've said when we were looking at the previous one, this is the piano part. And this extra little line along here is a different instrument. I'm not entirely sure what instrument it is, but it's written there because it's either an instrument that's really helpful for the conductor or the pianist to know, or it's also really helpful for the singers to know what's going on. They might need to gauge where they come in or how long they hold a note or whatever or even finding their note maybe by this instrument. So it's there because it's an important instrument to have. We can also see that we have this funny looking B. This tells us what key signature we are in. And we can tell by just having one flat, which is what this is called, a flat. We know that that is the key signature of F major. F major. So we know that every single B that is in this piece, unless the key signature gets changed, is going to be a B flat. And then if you come along here, you see a fun little symbol next to this B flat. So that symbol there is called a natural. So that means that this one note, actually these three notes, because this has changed all the B flats for this entire bar, this is making it a B. So it has naturalized it. It's a B, B natural, or just a B. So all these three notes are Bs, and then as soon as we hit this bar, we go into the new bar, it goes back to normal. Everything is B flat. Here you can see 3/4. This is the time signature. This tells us how many beats are going to be in the bar. We know that there's a 3, so we know that it's going to be a 3/4 time. So it's going to be 3 beats in a bar. It's that waltz feeling, that 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Okay, but we need it there because we are changing time signature. We have in these 3 bars been in a different time signature. How do I know that? Because I can count the notes in the bar and see what they add up to. And I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that we are most likely in 4/4 timing, or what's also called common time. So these notes are called crotchets, and they are worth 1 count. So I know if I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, that means that there are 4 beats in this bar. Moving over here, I can see that I have, so I'm going to do this one. I'm going to see that I have a different note to this one. This note is called a quaver, and it is worth half of a crotchet. So I know that this is half of 1. And then this is a rest, so there is no vocalization on this. And that is a quaver rest. It is worth the same as this note, so that's also worth a half. So I know that I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then if I move over to the next one, we have different notes again. I have 1 and 2. So I know that this whole bar is worth 4. So these notes must both be worth 2 each, and they are. So this is called a minim, and it is worth 2. It's double a crotchet. 1, 2. So I'd count 1, 2, 3, 4. So the red would come on the 3rd beat of the bar, the old red. Okay? And then the last thing I want to show you in terms of note values is this guy here. Because we have changed time signatures, we are now in 3, 4. There's 3 beats in the bar. We have to add a little dot to the end of the minim, to make that worth 3. When we add a dot to the end of a note, that is another half of that note is added to the note. So a half of 2 is 1. So we know that that is 2 plus 1. So this whole thing is worth 3. So that is 3 beats. Both of these are 3 beats. All these are 3 beats. Okay? And let's just quickly look, because there are some dynamics here. Dynamics are loud and soft, basically. There are some dynamics here. In the piano part, here we have this funny looking F. And that means forte, loud. So that means that the piano is going to get louder. Most likely the vocals are going to get louder as well. coming over here, we have this funny looking. This means that we are gradually going to get louder. So we're going from how loud we were here, which would have been F, to FF, which is really, really loud. So we're finishing this off really, really loudly. So, and the last thing I would want to look at is this, and well, this whole thing here. So this little rainbow half curve with a curve with a dot is a pause, and that means that you basically pause on this note. You don't just hold it for 3 and cut. You pause on this note until the musical director or the conductor cuts you off. And there's a little note here for the conductor to say it's approximately 8 counts. So we're going to hold this for longer than 3, obviously, but no more than 8, about 8, because otherwise that's a long time to be holding this. And I imagine that the singers will be asked to do all of this in one breath. And you know how I know that? There's this lovely, what's called a slur here. And that means these notes are all connected. There is no breath. There should be no breath in between. And if it is breath, if you need a breath, it's staggered. So one person will breathe, then another person will breathe and come back straight onto the note. But ideally, these notes are held together. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're holding for 11 counts, which is, impressive up there. So I know I stayed a while on this one, but this has some really good examples of what you might need to look out for when you are looking at music. And this is the last piece that I want to show you. This one, again, is different to the other ones that I've shown you. Here we have 3 lines. And then we also have the male lines have been split. And you can see that we now have a vocal line in the bass clef. Okay, so it has a B next to it, so I know that is the bass part. And the tenor part, and then the alto and soprano parts are sharing this line. They're sharing it because they're basically singing the same thing. They have the melody, I believe, and they are singing in unison. There are a couple of interesting things about this that I want to just show you that haven't been on the other pieces. So this is a very typical music theatre piece of music. So you have all these stage directions as well. See, it's kind of cool. A blinding light cuts down the stage. This is probably more for the technical team. This is probably what happened in the original production, and so it's therefore there as a guide for future productions, and just so we knew what happened. But to go back to the actual music, you can see that we are in FF, so we are very loud. We are very, very loud at this point. Every single part is very loud. And then these weird little side Vs on top of the notes, or under the notes, depending on where the notes are within the bar or within the stave. These mean that each single note is emphasized. Every single note, every single word, every single syllable is important. So it's swing your razor wide, Sweeney. So it's not swing your razor wide. It's swing your razor wide. Every single syllable, every single note gets an emphasis. which really adds to the drama of this particular piece. So if you don't know, this is from Sweeney Todd, and this is the opening number. So attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. This is the number. So that having everything emphasized really heightens the drama. And here you can see we have all these dotted notes. Every single note seems to be dotted. So we know that the dot adds half of the note that it's in front of. So these are crotchets. So each one of these is worth 1.5 now because of the dot. One other thing that I want to point out. So we looked at this one in a previous one, piece of music. So these are the naturals. But then here we have some sharps. So these are sharps. This is given the key signature, and these are sharps as well. So these are added sharps. So they're not in the original key signature. So they are just adding these sharps into the melody or into the harmony just to make it more interesting. And then you have the naturals. So then they've been naturalized in the next bar. Okay, I just want to talk briefly about the time signature of this, because these notes here are a little deceptive as to the time signature of this entire piece. So we spoke very briefly about the time signature. We looked at 4/4 time, and we also looked at 3/4 time. So a quick glance would make you think that maybe this is in 3/4. We can see that here we have a minim with a dot, so we know that that is 3 beats. So we wouldn't be, we might assume that this bar is worth 3 beats, so therefore it's in 3/4. But I know, having looked at this entire piece and seen the time signature at the very beginning of the piece, I know that this is actually, in fact, in 6/8. So it's effectively double 3/4. So each note is now worth double its value, but it's not longer, it's in fact quicker. So these normally would be worth 1.5, but now in 6/8 timing, they are worth 3. And then this would have been worth, in 3/4 timing, 3 beats, but now it's worth 6. So instead of the beat being 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the beat is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It still has a waltz feeling, but it's a lot more, it's a lot faster, and for this particular piece, puts you a little bit more on edge, and it's more dramatic. So how that would sound is, swing your razor wide, Sweeney, hold it to the skies. Yeah? Swing your razor wide, Sweeney, hold it to the skies. And that kind of brings up one thing that I want to mention. When you are singing especially when you're singing in an ensemble, counting is so important. So you stay as a group. Ensemble singing is about singing as a whole, as a group, as one voice almost. So you need to be counting as you are singing words and finding notes and finding dynamics and following someone else's creative vision for the song. Counting is so important. So you need to be counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just so important so that you cut off at the same time, that you come onto a note at the same time. You're never early, you're never late. So yes, this is another really good example of what ensemble and choral sheet music looks like. You have every single part very clearly stated. We can tell that the bass is split in two, so you have bass 1 and bass 2, and it's very clear to read. So as you can see, there are many different examples of what chorus and ensemble sheet music looks like, and I hope you found that helpful. It can be scary when you first look at a piece of music and you don't know what any of the symbols means, but I hope that you found something useful there today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye!